All right, we are back for round 2 of the Crestline Challenge 2025. This is on the upper course. We got a new card. Well, most of it, or half of it's new, I guess. We got Nash leading at 11 down, Scott Watson 8 down, Daniel Perry at 7, and Nick Newton at 5 down. So going to be a really fun card. A lot of solid backhand players, but we're starting out on a forehand hole. This is normal hole 17, our hole 1. So it's a 260-foot hole, dead straight, and the basket is on the right. But with the way the slope of the kind of hill goes down to the left, the forehand plays better. Otherwise, you wouldn't be bad throwing a backhand. But Zaylin goes for the MD5 after getting some advice from the card mates. They were nice enough to say something, but pretty much parks it. Scott, typically a pretty backhand dominant player, but clearly has a forehand as he's breaking it out for this hole. I think he's trying to just kind of throw a fairway driver soft, and looks pretty good. Just barely clips that last tree you need to beat. If you beat that, then you're definitely going to have a putt. Daniel, seen him on the channel a bunch before, just a super solid local La Mirada guy. Throwing the Toro here. And just super low and a little pulled out of the hand. Gonna have a little upshot, probably just a jump putt though, shouldn't be a problem. Nick going with, I'm not entirely sure. I think this is, I don't know. I was thinking it was an A2, that mushroom disc, but I don't know if he would throw an A2 on this hole. So some sort of overstable disc. It might be like a straighter A2 though. Decent looking line, just pulled it a little bit, so gonna have a jump putt up. And yep, should be an easy par. You got Daniel from a long ways out doing the mid-range putt. Not a terrible bid, just a little short. Scott with a long bid, but definitely a putt if you can get it up. I think this is my first time filming Scott for the channel. I've played with him before, but first time on the channel. So I had to get used to his routine and his pump fakes. Here's Zaylin for the birdie. You got these trees that could get in your way, but I think he has an open putt. Yep, didn't seem to be a problem. And a couple of tap-ins for the par. So this course is a little bit shorter than the other course they play. It's mostly par 3s. That's why on the little graphic on the left, I just left it without the par, because every hole except one is a par 3, and I'll talk about it once it comes. But hole 2, this is normal 18. It's just playing right up this super steep hill. It looks further than it is. It's really 165, but probably plays like 230-ish. Zaylin just fading off a little right. That's going to be a putt. There is OB right behind the basket. So Scott kind of airs that fairway driver and goes OB long. Daniel, little short right. I think it gets caught up in the trees short of the basket. He knows it's short, so he's going to have a little uphiller. And that looked pretty solid. It was stable enough to be fading out right. Yeah, so Daniel has a putt, but it's tricky. Just misses it a little low left. Has that OB right behind, so if he airballed it in any way, it'd probably go OB. So not the worst miss. Nick from... Nah, it's tapping.
Want to go ahead? That's fine.
And then, yeah, you can see how close the OB is. So any OB is a tap-in par, but you definitely want a birdie putt here. Zaylin tapping in another birdie. This is normal hole 1.
Sounds good. Barely.
Daniel Perry saying there's a little slope behind the basket, but it says 350. It's a little downhill though because we're teeing off from a little bit of an elevation. Really just pushing a mid or a fairway driver dead straight and then getting a slow fade out left. They said that's a little bit long. I think they have this tee pad a little bit further up than normal, so it's probably actually like 330. I think 350 is from the longer. So Nick going with this mid. I called it an A2 earlier. Now I'm definitely thinking it's not an A2 because I don't think he would throw it on this hole. Should be inside the circle. Scott going with this stable MD3. Just a little inside line. Going to fade out quite a bit left. Daniel going with this Invader. Looking to pop it up straight. Maybe a little bit too much hyzer, so it's just going to slide forward. But that's actually a putt. He'll have these little window in between the trees.
Probably in the circle, right?
I'd say yeah.
Yeah. Dang it.
Here's Zaylin from what they called him as just inside the circle. Definitely on the edge, though. It's kind of hard to tell when you have like a bunch of hills and trees and stuff in the way what's really inside the circle, but it's definitely close. But either way, they called him in, so not going to fall forward. And makes it anyway. Scott from maybe 25 to 30 feet down the hill. Decent looking bid, just tiny bit right. Like I said, there's this little gap in between these trees there, so if you just jam this, you can make it work. And yep. Nick's got the same putt actually. And there you go. Both birdied it from there. So you really want to just start it right and let it filter to the basket. When you start it inside, that's when you get in trouble because it kind of runs down the hill. Scott to clean up his par. Hole 4. This is a dead straight shot downhill. Very technical. You got this main gap. Zaylin's trying to go right of that big tree for the backhand. The forehand's trying to go left of it. But it's really just a dead straight shot. But what makes it hard is the downhill and getting it to land soft and straight. Zaylin was trying to throw that rat on a little baby flex, getting it to fight out. And it looks like Nick's doing the same thing. Slightly, actually no, he was going for a hyzer flip. Yep, definitely understable because that's turning hard right.
I don't know what that is.
So yeah, it just kept going right, but he'll have something from down there. Here's Daniel, probably throwing his Invader, looks perfect. And just hit some stick on the ground, so he's gonna have a little bit of work left on what looked like a perfect shot. Scott just a little bit early on that line, gonna have an upshot. Kicks off to the right, actually. He's got this little patent pending. And he'll have a long putt, but it's not going to be the putt you want. Zaylin for a long bid. And just barely going by the basket. It is a fast green, though, so it kind of ran out into the bushes back there. Scott for his par bid. See if he wants to give it a good bid or more just a soft run.
Swing.
Oh, and that was a really good bid with good pace, too. It kind of went in the trees, but not too far. Here's Daniel for his birdie.
No.
And he knew he pushed it right out of the hand, so he's also going to have a little work. Oh, here's Nick. Sorry, I couldn't get a good view. I kind of went down there, and he was already getting ready. But looks like he's got like a little Anheuser bid from the right side. Oh, yeah, he had nothing. It barely got out of the trees. And Zaylin got pretty good into those trees off to the left, so he's trying to make something work. Looks like he's going with like a tomahawk, or not tomahawk, like a scooper. Or forehand roller. I don't really know what he was trying to do there. I think he was just trying to toss it in and thought he was going to make it. And ends up backfiring on him. He's going to have to take a double bogey. So he's going to give a couple back to the field here. Daniel making par, taking 2 strokes with a par. Would not expect that. Nice little par putt there.
I ruined the par putt.
That was a boat.
With the double.
I had a boat, bud. Yeah. We needed a 2 for.
Hole 5, another dead straight par 3. Super cool hole. It's another, like, you can throw a backhand, but probably ideally it's a forehand. It's just dead straight through this gap, exactly where Nick was throwing, but it ends up hitting that tree on the right side. It's really like a very straight sidearm that fades late. Daniel does that pretty good and catches that tree. But it's only 230, so it's kind of like a overstable mid flick if you got it. Maybe a touch of Anheuser, so it kind of skips straight. Scott's line looked pretty good. That'll be up there somewhere. Zaylin, yep, going with that MD5, putting it on a little bit of flex. And just pushes it a little bit too far left. But he'll have a putt. Here's Nick after that kickoff to the left. He's kind of in this low bush. Going to have to slide it out. And yeah, it's a good shot. Slides down the hill. It's a super steep. Oh, and a great putt from Daniel. And this is Scott. So what I was saying, it's super steep behind. So Scott's actually slid off. And Nick will have a little bit of work, but not much. See if Scott can drop one in. And just a tiny bit low. Gonna have to take another par. Zaylin to get back on the birdie train. And yep.
No par, no par.
Nick jamming that thing in there. Hole 6. This is a fun shot. It's kind of like it's either a dead straight putter shot or like a overstable baby flex shot. Daniel throwing this Toro, looking for a little bit more flat or like tiny bit of Anheuser angle out of the hand. Zaylin does it pretty well, throwing the P3X flat, but still fades out left. The hole's only 236 and it's downhill, so it gets very fast near the basket. Nick, just a little bit of a misrelease on the height there, so it gets caught up in the limbs.
Taste it. Go in. Good shot, Scott.
And Scott just catching chains left side. That would have been an awesome ace. But regardless, should be a tap-in birdie if it didn't go too far in the trees there. And Nick giving it a good bid. Daniel for his birdie look. Oh, and I think he liked it, but he just hit that limb that he probably didn't even see when he was lining up the putt. Zaylin's drive ended up pretty good. I mean, he had a wide open pretty much tap-in, so you'll take it. Scott got a little bit of kind of a weird putt with these trees right in the way, but manages to get it in. Hole 7 is going to be either this dead straight line, low backhand line that almost no one throws, or a high sidearm line that you'll see in a second.
No, I hit it.
But Zaylin throws it perfect. It gets this bounce over the log that's down there and ends up inside the circle. Scott just misreleasing it a little high. These guys are going to show you the sidearm line.
Really like that.
Almost in the basket.
20.
That's what I feel like.
Daniel hit a tree, and Nick hit a tree, so it's kind of just you throw it out there and whatever happens, happens, but typically you end up with a putt. Scott actually also got a putt. Kind of a cool little framed up putt here. See if he can get the nose up for it to stay high. And yeah, hard to keep that one high enough. Nick also low, just putting up the hill. And at elevation, you got to give your putters a little bit of extra juice putting at elevation because they kind of want to fall out of the sky. Even Daniel leaking one off right a little bit. Usually he's super solid from that distance. Zaylin, kind of a tricky little knee putt here. Makes good though, another good birdie. With the unconventional line too. Hole 8, we got an uphill, pretty like steep turnover to the right. You're gonna see this big tree in the background that Zaylin's throwing at. You really just want to throw it at that with a lot of turn, just like he did. You can kind of see the basket out there, and that's pretty much perfect. So just want to take kind of a neutral mid, put it on some anhyzer, and let it drift. Scott's looking good too. Yeah, that looks perfect. Daniel throwing this Star Fox that we saw in the last round. Looking to execute pretty much the same thing as those guys.
Oh my gosh.
Just doesn't turn it, probably relying on that stability of the mid-range a little bit too much, expecting it to turn, but just doesn't get over. Nick, kind of just a little low and under-committed as far as the angle goes, but they'll still have putts here. And it's uphill and it doesn't drop off, so they're probably going to run it pretty hard. Daniel just doesn't get it up. It looked like he might have even had a ceiling. Nick's a little more open over here. And there you go. Super solid putt from Nick. He was close on a couple of those last ones, so glad he locked in and made that. Scott, 22 feet or so. See if he can get a nice birdie. There you go. That is a really good birdie, actually. And I think he might have been playing this course blind, too, if I remember correctly. Zaylin for another birdie. Yep, jams it in there. Hole 9, it says 246. I think it really is probably 300 feet playing 340. It's uphill slightly the whole time, and
That had to have been 1 inch from the
Zaylin
basket.
just kicking right next to the basket, getting excited there. But that's going to be another tap and birdie pretty much.
Oh yeah, get through.
Come on.
Perfect.
Scott also throwing a nice little flex shot through the gap. I think that's what it calls for, something kind of stable. Throw it on a little bit of ante to get under the ceiling.
Oh, that's perfect.
Nick does it really well as well, and yeah, it looks great. And Daniel just pulling that. Seems to be a little frustrated with the last couple of holes, so wanting to get back on the birdie train. Leaks that a little bit, but stays relatively close to the basket. Nick kind of having a funky little bid there. Gonna just tap in the par. And Zaylin actually went a little bit long here, so See if he can hit a nicer putt. I feel like most of his has been pretty much tap-ins. You can see him actually focusing up. And yep, jams it. Low right. Scott to go back-to-back birdies. Just a little high. Gonna have pretty much a retry at that putt. Puts it exactly the same. It'll probably go in because it rolled back a little bit. And just a little stabby on that one. Kind of pushes it off to the right. Gonna have to take a bogey there. You do not want to see that after the putt you initially had. And Daniel making a nice little par putt. There you go, Scott.
Where are we going? Back this way?
Hole 10, one of my favorite holes on the course. It's a low or uphill tunnel with kind of a low ceiling. You can go high, like big sidearm, but it's a very big sidearm, and most people probably don't have that. Zaylen pretty much just pured it with the FD and put it into the circle. Nick, I think this is like, I don't know what disc it is, but it's a flippy fairway driver. Just looking to put this on a little bit of Anheuser and let it drift.
Oh my gosh, dude. Throw it into the ground.
And yeah, he said it. He just kind of threw it into the ground, but he's going to have a putt. Daniel, good initial line. I thought it was going to turn, just kind of stabled out though and pushed left. He's going to have a putt though.
Nice, Scott.
Scott,
No, don't get
really
stable.
nice line with his
living.
dynasty.
Yeah, you make it.
But that's going to be a putt, and on this hole you'll take it. Nick trying to give this a little bid. Nice little bid there. Daniel also with the long putt. Definitely has plenty of power to make it though. And yeah, just barely missed it. A little short. Scott kind of having some weird footing there. See if he can connect on a birdie putt. If they're missing that last one. And just pulls it right. Gonna have a kind of a sketchy little comebacker. Kind of went up the hill there. Got some a little bit faster side behind it. But makes a good comebacker. There you go. That one was solid. And Zaylen pretty much tapping in another birdie. Don't really see him missing this with the way he's been putting. There you go. Hole 11. This is our par 4, but it says 362. Playing probably 440. But this tee pad is uphill, so it makes it really hard to get a good shot off. Both of them leaking left a little bit, but they'll have either very easy up shots or even a jump putt at it. See if Daniel can rip one. I know he can park this with how hard he throws, and just hits that rock. So he's not happy about it. That Wraith is probably gonna take a chunk, but should be a pretty easy up and down for the bird. Scott, good looking line, just flipped up a little bit too much. That must be a pretty flippy disc, flipping up in the elevation and uphill. Throws a decent shot. He's probably going to be maybe 25 to 30 feet right of the pin, so he'll have another birdie putt. Nick going with this mushroom disc from earlier, and almost made it. Flew right in front of the basket, but should be pretty much tapping birdie. Perry, little flick, shouldn't be a problem. And yeah, it's going to be right up there. Zaylen's got the clear window. See if he can put a good bid at it. And just doesn't really get it flat. Probably just didn't want to like pull it and hit one of those trees on the right or something, but comes up a little short. And Scott's actually a bit further than I thought.
Oh my god, dude. It's just...
And just a little off with the putter right now. But it's a par, so no harm on the scorecard, but you definitely want to get this birdie. Tricky little par 3. It's kind of like a dead straight little hyzer flip through this tight gap. Zaylen does that pretty good.
Great skip.
Just gets a weird little bounce off to the right. Really just throwing kind of like a neutral mid and letting it hyzer back. Nick looked like he threw something a little more overstable, and it got a nice skip up there. Daniel might be throwing a J soft, but actually it was probably a Toro realistically. Scott's throwing this breaker. That looked perfect. Here's Zaylen for a longer putt and just pulled it out of the hand. Nick making the birdie, and it looks like Scott and Daniel are parked, so Zaylen going to be losing one to the card here. At least. Has a weird little putt here. But makes it. Not a problem.
They took out, or like not. They didn't take out a hole where I was like, oh, this is such a good hole.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. They're all. Nice drive. Thank you. Don't drop it.
Hole 13. We got kind of a couple options here. You can throw this dead straight line that Nick just threw, making it look like that is the pure line, which it kind of is the pure line, but there is a forehand line off to the left that's a little bit more, it's a bigger gap, so you kind of have like an easier initial gap to hit and less potential for bad kicks down the hill, but these guys are all going to be going with the backhand. Oh, Scott looking like he pured it, but just barely kicks that tree. Zaylen going with that P3X. And yeah, it should work. Kind of sliding up there a little left of the basket. Daniel, long jump putt approach. Just little mid-range jumper.
Go!
Kind of a big mistake there, hitting that tree. Gonna give him a long par putt. Scott got a little bit here. He's got some ceiling to work with. And misses that high. It's a good bid though. Daniel for the par. Probably circles edge. And a good putt, just doesn't drop. Scott for a little bit of work left. Solid little comebacker there. Another birdie for Zaylen, taking him to 20 down for the tournament. All right, 14 is going to be a super touchy hole. Only 165 downhill. Typically, people with an equally good sidearm and backhand will throw the sidearm right of that tree with a little bit of flex and let it fade out. Nick has a really good touchy backhand though and slides it up there. So kind of giving the kids some advice on what to throw. Or at least Zaylen. Going with this P3X. Nice little flex on it. And hits the pole. That was kind of lucky because that was probably going to be in the trees. And if you go in there, then there's a good chance you're not going to have anything.
Oh, great tree kick.
Scott throwing a nice shot and apparently getting a nice little tree kick. Can't see it on the camera, but slides it up there closer to the basket than it would have been. Here we go. Daniel's going to show us the sidearm.
So funny, we all go backhand in a local.
Yeah, I was looking for.
Nice little shot there. Going to skip off to the right a little bit, but see if he has a putt from the trees. There you go. That's a solid putt from Scott.
Watch out for him.
Here's Daniel. Yep, looks like he did have an open putt down
I
there.
just love hearing the NPC guys be like, how does the PGA rifle? Yeah. Ah!
I only know paper. What's a phone? I have the iPhone 3.
It's so hard to get Jacob Newey.
And that's going to be a star frame. You don't really see this whole star frame too much just with how tight the green is. It's hard for everyone to have a perfectly open putt. This hole was kind of weird to film because we were starting in the sun, but then the kind of green was like super dark and shady. But from that view, you can see it's just a dead straight downhill shot. So kind of taking something like a stable putter or a stable mid and letting it skip back left to the basket. Kind of saw it there in Zaylen's throw. So Scott going with this stable MB3. It's kind of a perfect disc here. Just throwing nice and smooth. Just starts it a little inside. So he's going to have a weird upshot from there actually because he kicked left.
It? Yeah,
Daniel
so
just kind of throwing a hyzer with the Toro, and that looked like it skipped up there perfectly. Scott trying to manufacture something. And just kind of throws it into the ground. He will have a putt, but it's a long putt.
Sit down.
There's a log.
Nick calling for it to sit down, but there's that log right there, so not really a problem. Zaylen lining up a long putt.
Yep.
Oh, and he loved it. Just catches the nub, though. Scott, see if he can make a longer par putt. Right just outside the circle. Looked good, just a little low. Daniel for the solo birdie on the card. And just a couple of tap-ins here.
Yeah.
Good bird, dude.
Thank you.
Alright, so it is worth noting at this point that Jake Fraley through 15 holes is 13 down. So he's 3 back of Zaylen. So if he birdies out and Zaylen pars, then it could potentially tie.
And it's
So there's a little bit of pressure there. But back to the hole, it's just an uphill, dead straight shot. Daniel Perry throws it good. It kind of kicks off the tree and goes straight. Nick also throwing it pretty good. Gonna be up there, telling it to sit, thinking it might go a little long. So Zaylen's definitely feeling the pressure here. Like I said, from Jake, he's 3 back with a couple to go. So if he birdies out, he could make it really close, and Zaylen knows that. And he pulls it, so that's gonna be a long putt for the birdie. Scott throwing this breaker again. He's been throwing this thing nice. And looks pretty solid. Should be up there. Maybe just a little short left. But yeah, this is pretty much a Hail Mary from back here.
Nice layup, dude.
Nick with a little bit of meat left on the bone, 25 feet or so, wide open. Usually we got some wind up here, though, and the fact that it's not windy is pretty nice. You don't normally see this super exposed green without any wind.
Yeah, good luck, dude.
Jams that thing.
Funny.
Scott just tosses it a little too high. I get the commitment, but definitely gonna want that one back.
Mediocre drive to a great result.
And Daniel tapping in a birdie putt. So Jake Fraley did birdie the next hole, so he's getting another one on Zaylin, bringing him to 19 down. So getting pretty tight towards the end of the match here. Zaylin kind of needing one to create some space for himself to win. Another dead straight shot. Daniel just throwing it a little too high. Nick throwing that backhand line to perfection. He is so good at making forehand holes, backhand holes, and just making it look like it's a backhand hole. So here's Zaylin, really needing that birdie, just leaking it a little bit high. Again, leaving himself a really long putt, if that at all. All these guys going with backhands. It's just so different than how I play the course, but they make it look good. Scott just overturning that a tiny bit. Good line, though. So here's Zaylin. Was two ahead going into this hole, so kind of got to assume that Jake's going to birdie his hole 17 because it's only a couple holes back and they aren't the hardest holes. And he's going to be taking the par, so Jake does birdie it. He'll only be one back going into 18. Daniel just barely missing low. Scott. And just pulls it. You could tell he's just a little in his head right now for the putting. So Zaylin's got some work on this putt left. This could make it really interesting. Because I'll spoil it, Jake did birdie 17, so he put himself to 20 down. And he makes the par putt, keeping the separation going into 18. At this point, if you're Zaylin, you got to assume that Jake's going to birdie 18 and tie you at 21 down. So to not push the playoff, you kind of got to assume he has to birdie it. And spoiler, since it's not coverage, he does birdie 18, and he does have to birdie it. So we got another dead straight shot. In my opinion, this one does shape up for the backhand a little bit better, but you can throw a sidearm. Nick throws the shot pretty well. Daniel Perry going with this invader. Gotta get sneaky again. He's been having some lucky holes the past few holes, and he parks it. So here we go. Zaylin knows he needs to birdie it. He saw Jake tapping the birdie, and just knows he's got to do it here. If he doesn't want to go into a playoff, at least. Going with that rat, kind of catching some of the ceiling, fades off a little bit left, so he's going to have a longer putt than he would have wanted to win the tournament. But makes for an interesting finish for sure. Scott throwing a really good looking line, actually, but going to have some work left for the upshot. And yeah, it's a really good upshot. It's going to be right up there by the basket. Here's Nick to finish his round with a birdie. Get to 15 down.
Oh, dude, no way.
And
Put it
just
low in the
leaves it
last hole.
short. All right, this is to win the tournament right here. From the knee, little straddle out right. Taking his time. And low left catches it for the win.
Wow.
Perfection. I was like, there's no
That
way you
is
could
a
end up
great
there.
putt to win the tournament. So that is it. Nick and Scott gonna tap in their par. Daniel gonna tap in his birdie. But congrats to Zaylin. That was a good dub, a lot of good disc golf, and a pretty exciting finish with Jake Fraley shooting a 16 down course record to make it super interesting. Final leaderboard, Zaylin Nash 22 down, Jake Fraley 21 down total. Then we got Nick Newton and Daniel Perry at 14 down, tied third. Braden Moore and Gavin Boss tied fifth at 11 down. Then Alex Gerlach at 10, 7th. Donald McLaughlin at 9 for tied 8th with Scott Watson. And then Elias Simon at 7 down. That is it, guys. Again, congrats to Zaylin. Thanks for watching the coverage. We will see you in the next one.